My name is Monique van der Stap. I'm going to host this session. We have Frederik, Sjoerd, and Bas here, and we're waiting for Magnus. We hope he will join. As you will have discovered, we're running a little bit late. We're going to make this session a little bit shorter. So, focused. First of all, who do we have here? Bas de Vos, Frederik Volpré, and Sjoerd Bennekamp, all working on audience measurement. And that's, also if we listen to the keynote from Conviva before, if you look at the stack that of everything that needs to be organized, it's on the technical level, it's on the standards level, it's on the business model level, but it's also measurement of what we watch, what we want to see, and what this means, and what advertisers therefore want to pay for. Now, in a multi-screen world and a multi-platform world, audience measurement is different from what it was before. And now I would say it has been different for quite a while. But we are still working hard to fix this problem. I want to have the views of the people in the panel, and I have a long list of questions for them. But if you have questions yourself, don't forget to put them in the chat box, and I'll pick them up. I'll check regularly and make sure to ask questions to the panel as well. Can we first briefly do introductions? Bas de Vos, you are the Senior Director of Media Kantar. Can you briefly explain what you do?
I lead the global audience product team in Kantar, and I've been working in audience measurement for the last decades.
I know. All of us have been in this field. Well, me on the fringes, of course. You guys have been there for many years. And what is the biggest change this year? What is going on right now for Kantar that is big?
I think two things. There's a continuous deployment of cross-device measurement, multiple countries in the world. So basically providing solutions that cover the whole picture of what audiences are doing. And the other one is probably integration with large global or regional digital players.
Yeah.
So ingesting data at scale is what we call ingesting data at scale. And being able to translate devices into people. So going back to your introduction, I think there is loads and loads of device level data available in the market since the last 10 years. I think our job is to translate devices into people because that's where the value is.
So you do want to build up these super personal profiles with data that's really relevant for that person, so you can match them with media advertisers.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. And who are your biggest clients? Who are your main clients? Just to see where you are in the.
Yeah, it's multiple. It's broadcasters, it's media owners, it's global digital players, but it's also people that run operator data sets like Sky or Esko in Malaysia. So it's a wide range of clients in the media industry, basically.
Okay, so you have a pretty good overview of what's happening worldwide. Sjoerd, you are the director of Esko. I know what this is because it's Dutch and you are, so am I. But can you explain to our audience what is Esko?
Esko is the Dutch TV JIC, the Joint Industry Committee that's responsible for measuring TV viewing.
Yeah, and what is the biggest thing you are working on this year? What is the?
Well, yeah, we have a huge thing that we're working on. It's called the new Nationaal Media Onderzoek, the National Media Research. It's a project that we conduct together with our partners at the radio, print, and online audience measurement. Yeah. And what we aim to do is to combine all these different types of measurement into one single measurement setup, which will hopefully give us very good insights into viewing, listening, reading, and online, but also the ability to connect the insights across these different media behaviors, so that programmers or commercial parties can have full insight into how media is used and what the reach is across these different media types.
And so until very recently, or still a little bit today, those were different organizations measuring per medium, very often more or less funded by partners from that sector. And correct, it's not just bringing together all the tools and measurements, but it's also bringing together all those partners to agree.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it as well. It has a research component which we are currently already working on quite hard. That will renew all the individual measurements and then connect those. But there's also a big debate, or it's not necessarily a big debate, but there's a lot of work being done of connecting the organizations and making it into one big media measurement organization.
Stealing a bit of their power and putting it together in one big group. It takes time. It takes time. Frédéric Volpré, you're the Frédéric Volpré-Glans. You're the vice president of MediaMetri. Can you explain the role of MediaMetri?
No, I'm in MediaMetri. So MediaMetri is a French-based company. I'm heading the international activities. So I've got two hats, let's say. So the first is looking at content and ratings and audience trends. And we are lucky because we could look at that at the global level. And also we have one thing I'm in charge now is to look at our technology and how we're using a specific technology to measure, TV, radio, and so on, and internet. And how do we could use this technology abroad? And we especially we work a lot with BAS, for example. We have a strong partnership with Countdown on this technology.
And what is the technology? What's so specific about this technology?
Well, it's not, we have metered, we have a portable metered, we have this kind of technology. We also, because French has always tried to be autonomous on TV measurement. So we have built our own TV measurement. It's perhaps the heritage of De Gaulle. I don't know if it's.
And now you want to conquer the world with your.
No, not conquer the world. Just have partnership and working with people. But we have built our in the last 35 years we have our own techno, and sometimes we think it could be useful for other countries and that's and it's true that today the tech is really
you know about tech. Sjoerd knows about the local corporation. Bas knows about the whole wide world and what's happening. Magnus, you joined just in time. You haven't missed a thing because you know the other three people, and we were just doing introduction. So you are the CEO of MMS Sweden. What does MMS Sweden do? Very briefly, and then we'll dive into the question.
Thanks, Monique. I joined the session as an attendee, not a speaker actually, but
let you hear now.
Some technical problems. Yeah. I'm the managing director for MMS, which is the Joint Industry Committee for video and TV. So it's the Esko on the Swedish market, so to speak.
Yeah. Okay. So too local, too international. What are we going to discuss? We want to know about new measures for new usage. So it's not just about reorganizing measurement, but also what does this mean, how we can use it. And we want to also discuss on-demand content consumption. Let's start with new usages. If we get this all organized, and I know it takes time, what can we actually do that we couldn't do before? Who wants to go first? Sjoerd, maybe.
Yeah, I think as I explained in the introduction meeting we had, I think the online system is a bit broken currently if you compare it to TV, because TV measurement offers you the opportunity to plan on the same data that you evaluate on, and so you can see the full cycle of what an ad campaign eventually delivers. And for online, we have been measuring content for quite a while, which allows you also to plan on certain websites. But there's currently not a way yet to see how many people you actually have reached with your campaigns online. And we need to fix that model. So we need to be able to both look at the planning and then see in an evaluation how much reach that actually achieves. So I think that's the biggest topic for us in the coming years.
And it also needs to be independently proved so that everybody can trust it as well, right? It's not just
as a managing director of a JIC, that's of course what I would like to advocate, that we can in fact verify what you buy online and have a let's say a third party guarantee that it actually was what you was intended to buy.
Magnus, you want to integrate your TV and online video measurements. So because we're floating between this online world that I know very well and this TV world where they also are jealous of what the online world can do. It's like having this very granular knowledge of every individual and so forth. So what is the goal? I mean, I understand that you want to integrate TV and online video, but what do you think will change once that is accomplished? What will be the effect of this?
quite a lot, I would say. What we're trying to do is not to be TV-centric or online-centric, be consumer-centric, focusing on the actual consumer and what time they spend with different kinds of content and different kinds of advertising. So that is the holy grail. So to open up, I agree with Shord and with Frederick and Bas also that it's broken, but it's we also agree that it can be fixed. So one thing that we still haven't, even though we launched our first online video currency in 2011, and Esko was even earlier than us. So we were first in the world to do that, actually, even though it's not really yet there. So one really important point is to go from device to people. I know that's something that Bas brings up quite often, that to work with the industry to kind of realize the potential of, instead of saying one-to-one, one device to one server, saying, okay, on a big screen, it might be 1.7 viewers per session, and so on. And then to bring that in to the linear TV world, and to take the best of both worlds, and then to bring that further. That's one reason why it takes a long time. There are other reasons too, but that's one of the reasons.
Yeah, but let's skip a long time. It will take some time. We know that it's hard work, but it will take some time. But everybody in this industry believes that will eventually happen, and might not be as perfect as we dreamed of it to be, but it will be there. So how will that change the media industry? I mean, I know it's driven by matching advertisers with media inventory. That's the driving force here. But once you have established this granular database connection between what people watch and who they are and where they are and what they plan to do in life, and you can even follow them over many, many years, that might also change the media industry itself. It might just it's more than just advertising. You know, it might be a driver for bigger
it will, and it already has, I would say, because it started to be distribution neutral, so to speak, and that's why I started to say that it's consumer oriented. So the consumers are really the kings and the queens in the industry, and that also drives the advertising. For example, 1/3 of the total advertising with video ads in general, so linear TV and online video, is online today on the Swedish market. It's probably the same in Denmark, Norway, and in the Netherlands. So if the advertisers can't use both those platforms to mix, to optimize their footprint, they'll have problems, because there's no other mass media to replace. Online is too
somebody will think, well, no. I'm not worried. But Bas and Frederick, you look at this more from not from a local level, but more from an international level. What are the bigger changes you see there? Is that already planning out a bit further than just matching advertisers with programs?
Let me first comment on that, because we have the tendency to forget about content creation and the value that is there in the content creation industry. It's a multi-billion trillion industry too. So this is not only about advertising, it's also about content, creating a consistent and sustainable content strategy. And so what we need to do in terms of stepping up in our game or our deliverable to our clients, we all face, is make sure that they can also create a sustainable business to start with. So from a broadcast perspective, we have all seen broadcasters move from broadcasters to media owners, right? All broadcasters are multi-platform delivery businesses now. And what we have not met yet, and that's what I think also Sjoerd means with broken, is we haven't provided them the data to properly also use those new opportunities that arise with multi-platform delivery. So that's one thing. So content creation is critical, and that not only goes for the, let's say, the existing industry, but also to the relatively new, is not a good word probably, because they have been existing for the last 10 years, but the rising services, Netflix, Disney Plus, need the same insights as broadcasters or media owners need to understand the competitive landscape to start with, right? So what the hell is going on TV? People are spending 20% of their time or 25% of their time on the big screen without a proper understanding of what people are doing. So how can I create a strategy on that main device that I use for reaching out to my consumers, as Magnus said, if I don't understand what they're doing 1 out of 4 minutes? That's crazy. So that's problem number one.
From a content strategy point of view, as well as from an advertiser business.
Yeah, it's the same. So and where it's sort of broken for advertisers, and that has driven, I'm quite confident about the WFA initiatives, is the lack of a single holistic view on what is my campaign doing with those individual consumers, because I get my TV reach and frequency, I get some report from a global player, I get 2 reports from some local digital players. How do I consolidate that and then create proper ROI of my campaigns? And that is really hard. I think people might not admit that day to day, but it is hard work, and we need to fix that.
And it sounds like you need a huge global company with all the scalability. It feels. Frederic, what do you think? Is this a tech problem that needs to be solved and can be solved by scaling it up, or is it?
I don't hear Magnus properly. I don't need at all. So maybe I missed something. But what we see is, in fact, there was a buzzword in the last coming, let's say, 2 years, cross media. But beyond cross media, there are different layers. You have cross platforms, and I totally agree with Bas today. And by cross platform, we mean cross video, in fact, because cross media, and it's a project of Sword, it's every media, which is more complex. Today, there is a high pressure on cross-platform or cross-video measurement because, and I agree with Bas was saying, it's in fact, of course, there is the advertising driver, but there is also the editorial driver. And for example, for the public broadcasters, what are the main objectives? France Télé or BBC or ARD or NPD? It's a reach. It's, for example, in France Télévisions, they have to have a weekly reach of more than 80% of the population because it's a public service. So, and advertising is coming afterwards. This is the first, and that's why we pay taxes, or they get taxes, they collected taxes. So we see that this global reach today for public broadcasters, it's key because of course it's linear, but it's also preview, it's G+7, plus 7 days, plus 28 days now, which is a kind of new standard, and so on. And on the digital platforms, they all have digital platforms. So this is this new kind of global reach they want to get. And we are on our way. Every country is trying to find a new way to aggregate all this data. There is also the financing question on that, because the broadcasters and the advertisers want a global reach, but it's a cost because it's you need it's a technology, you need more panels. So there is also this financing question about this kind of new cross-platform measurement, which is we will certainly talk about SVOD measurement also later. But for example, SVOD measurement, who is going to pay for SVOD measurement? Everyone would like to have a figure for Netflix, but it has a cost. So
you never know. They want
not sure.
Well. So there you go.
Perhaps they have to pay now, and UK as perhaps is showing us the way, the path with a meter measurement.
So that's the big overview. We think this world will affect the industry in different manners if we get it right. And right now, development is more on the local level with local partners, which might be a good thing because then we can find out different things. Let's move to the practical. The kind of research you guys are doing traditionally was maybe with panels, and of course the technology has developed very rapidly on all kinds of levels. Connected TVs, internet, there's also still standard TV. What is happening this year? What is new? Where are we going with the new kinds of measuring? Who wants to go first then?
Well,
go.
I think what Magnus is saying is the idea that you need to come from devices to people. That's maybe not necessarily big this year, but it has been big for a few years. that's what you really need to do, right? To cover everything in one single view, you have to know who's behind those devices, and that's where panels always have come in very handy in the past, because you would register yourself on the TV meter, and we would know not only that the TV was on, but also how many people were watching. And I think a big thing for us is to get that same kind of insight on all the other data sources that
for somebody from outside the industry, it always has, because it's, who on earth registers himself to be measured by? That's one thing. I would never. But then of course, I also decline every cookie. But also, then you have to have little diaries where people actually register what's going on in the living room. This was before, right? But now we have new technology where you can actually measure who's in the living room. So can you explain a little bit how you do that?
Yeah, well, it's actually a model that's been around since the 80s that we still apply. There's still a handset next to the TV handset where you register when you come into the room and start viewing. And we're currently setting up. Yeah, we're currently setting up a new panel, and we are still able to find a lot of people who do want to join, Monique. So luckily, they're not all like you.
I'm not.
No, Monique, talking about what's important this year, just to build on what you said about panels. Of course, creating and building high quality, well balanced panels is a costly exercise, right? We invest a significant amount of money this year in sort of and improving even the way we manage panels, how we ask people to join, how we consent panels, because consented panels is like the basic principle that we all build our solutions on top of. Every market will have a properly consented panel, which is in many cases not the case if you start talking about large-scale device-level data. So there is a lot of effort being put in panels and panel qualities, for the reason that panels still are the only and sole way to, in the end, integrate and combine data across platforms properly. Especially with the fact that sort of the loss of cookies as a means to do cross-device matching, panels even become more important, because you will be able, within consented panels, to see the overlap in usage across devices, which you will never find by using some sort of a device graph magic that is being applied in the market a lot. So that doesn't say that it is either panels or data at scale. You need both, and that's a no-brainer to all of us in this call, I think. So it doesn't lead to much discussion, but you need the clarity.
So what is new? What do you need now that you didn't need before?
You need large-scale data to be able to capture granularity by fragmentation, caused by fragmentation. So if you want to properly cover the long tail and match to sort of the outcomes that the large-scale data set delivers you need to be able to combine them. You need to use the best of both worlds to create the best solution. So I'm really happy that we've gone beyond that bullshit discussion about panels versus large-scale data.
No. And if you...
And perhaps one example I can give you, and because it's exactly the question: how do we combine, the panel world and the digital world, let's say, or the new? And in France, we try to work on what we call hybrid measurement by incorporating telco data. So we have signed a partnership with Orange, and now the other telco have joined us we're doing POC right now. We have different POCs with Orange, and now also with Bouygues Telecom, with Canal Plus also, because they are a kind of operator and they have login, but they have households. They don't have individual data. So all the job is to combine that and to fuse and to modelize what is a Orange household or Canal Plus or household and so on, to get at the end an individual data. And suddenly with Orange, in the POC, we have 10,000 households. So you give more granularity. So it would be better to have an audience measurement for the thematical channel, for nonlinear advertising, nonlinear broadcasting, and especially for targeted advertising. We have launched targeted advertising 2 years in France, and we start to have the first results. So it's a starting point. But to do that properly, you need this kind of hybrid measurements. So
because of the fragmentation,
that's
you
one of
need
the, I think, one
much
of the
larger
ways.
sets sometimes, and you got them from partners like operators, telecom operators. They can help you with some of those that data.
Monique, we
Yeah,
have
go ahead.
actually three things coming up this year. We've been working with it for a long time, and it's not unique for the Swedish market. But one is actually launching YouTube with comparable. It's still a silo, but it's comparable with the currency. That's something we do together with Kantar. And then we have something that the MediaMetri has been doing for a while, 4-screen measurement. So you could divide it into different screens and relate that to what I mentioned before, co-viewing. There's more than one viewer at a time. And the third and the most important thing, actually, for the industry is something that you discussed. It's the total video, and actually it's the public broadcaster, related to what Fredrik said. The public broadcaster is pushing that more than the other ones, actually, because they're ahead when it comes to the transition. So it's not really a transition because they still have a lot of linear viewing, but it's a widening of or a diversifying of the viewing. So they see that there is a leakage in the public service viewing, is a bigger leakage than in other areas, and that's also related to what Bas brought up. So these are the three things that's really important to us this year. Really key things that put a lot of pressure on us, but I think it's really important that they put that pressure. So
Yeah, and Bas, if you look at this, I mean, in every market, this is happening because the media are changing in all these markets. But do you see really regional differences or local differences on how to measure, what to measure, the way the measurements are financed and organized, or is this slowly but gradually moving towards a standard that is international?
Yeah, I think in the end, maybe not now yet, but in the end, sort of the approaches will sort of standardize or get more harmonized. We've all been innovating for the last 10 years, trying to sort of capture the whole picture. I think generally sort of set up with single source panel measurement, where you measure television and online in a single panel and then combine it with data at scale. So either it be operator data or online sensor level data. I think that's going to be the approach. I think the speed of deployment in individual markets depends on market economics, for instance, and the way how far ahead a market is in terms of digital. Markets like Sweden or Norway are sort of ahead of the curve in terms of digital deployment or rollout, and other markets are less, so that the use case or the business case is less viable on the short term. And I think what Magnus hinted at, sort of, to get the full picture, we need to start at least being able to include platforms like YouTube or Netflix into the total video equation. And that is technically will be the same approach in most markets, I think, because you have global approaches that you need to align with the global players. Otherwise, it's not going to fly from one market to another. And then the speed of delivery will depend on market acceptance and local politics.
True.
And if the whole day today was about advertising and addressable TV and what's happening there. It's the markets are fragmenting, and then within the markets, different people get to see different ads, and you also need independent reporting if these ads were actually delivered to the right people, etc. So that calls for a whole new set of tools, maybe.
No, if I may quickly comment, sorry.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
It builds on, to some extent, what Fredrik said in terms of the approach won't be significantly different. So you take a combination of access to large-scale data that includes addressable ads and find a means to combine that properly with TAM-based information. We're actually working on delivering that for Astro as an operator in APAC, where we'll use large-scale operator data that includes linear ads plus addressable ads to combine in a single metric, and using connected TV data for a European market, we're also working on sort of such an approach, enabling at least within the TV screen to deliver a single metric to market. So I think it's more a question about access to data sets and then applying sort of product approaches that will become more consistent in the next 2 or 3 years. At least that's my expectation. Otherwise, it's not going to be sustainable too.
Well, but maybe I'm too. But if you think of that right now, the ads get personalized, but of course, in a digital world, items in movies and series get personalized as well. The product placement within the digital stream that people observe will also change so that kind of super personal stream that people will eventually get will influence how you measure what people get, because it's so small now and so personalized. Interesting world to be in. We only have 5 minutes left. Yes, Magnus, go ahead.
I've got a comment on the addressable related to what all of you actually said. We have a TV everywhere set up with the telcos, so they use the digital ad insertions, working much more targeted, and it's not being done in the linear world. So that's being done in the online world on the Swedish market. One reason for that is that the linear viewing is not big enough to capture and to be used for the targeting. They want to use that for mass communication, not for targeted. And then they use the online for targeted instead. And lots of digital ad insertions, like Frederick mentioned, and I know that there's probably that going on in the Netherlands too. So, but just a comment based on the addressable.
Yeah. Well, as I said, we have a few minutes left. I'd like just all of you to have a look into the future. Where are we going from here? What's the most exciting part of your work? Yeah. Frederick. Well, Frederick. Oh, Shoot responded first. Shoot.
Go
there you
ahead,
go.
Oh, no. I think it's good to acknowledge that we're in a transition, right? We currently define markets quite siloed between TV and online video, and this is going to change in next years. I'm quite certain. I'm not sure who's going to be first, but we will not only be calculating market share for TV channels. Netflix will have a market share, YouTube will have a market share, and I think the measurement will adapt to that too. I'm not sure how fast this move is going to be, but I think in all markets represented here, we are working towards such a situation where the measurement can answer these questions across all viewing, both for content as well as for advertising.
Is any of you already measuring TikTok?
We will be measuring TikTok, yes.
Because that's market share growing and growing, right? All right, who else wants to have a look?
In certain target groups, Monique.
Now, for the future, regarding the future, I think we had a panel this morning in France with some advertisers, and it was very interesting to see that they were not pleased to see a world where 70% of the digital spending will go to only 2 or 3 platforms, let's say, or players who do not really give the figures, the data. They don't want to be audited and so on. So if we want to change a bit the world, and that's for us, for the market research company, we have to work in a new way with our perhaps incumbent habits or incumbent technology or existing methodology, but adding some new stakeholders, because there are much new stakeholders right now. You have also new companies popping up. Some are quite reliable, some are not. So how do we create a new ecosystem which is still reliable for the advertisers and for the broadcasters? Because I'm not sure I'm not sure multi-currency will be a solution. We just need to find a way, as a path to a new kind of currency. Is it global video GRP, video GRP? Is it cross media and so on? So that's to be defined, and that's where we have to change a bit our way of working with perhaps new people we were not working before, but still keeping some robust,
and also that
DNA.
Having these independently researched data is so important for local media industry as well, because it will
For democracy, in
want
fact,
to-
if we are
want
as
to
a
really know what's
citizen.
going on. Bas and Magnus, last few words, and then we have to wrap up.
Please, Bas.
Future.
You have more to say than I have.
Yeah, the big thing is continued deployment for us of cross-platform measurement, serving the purpose of the existing clients, but also serving the purpose and the ROI for the new clients and client groups, as Frederic said. And I'm very confident that within the next couple of years, we will show a wider picture to the market, both from a content strategy perspective, but also for advertisers in projects like Origin that we are setting up in the UK for the Advertisers Association. So yeah, I think we're all heading in the right direction, and the speed will be determined by how fast can we bring value, or do we convince clients that it is of value. But it's a great time to be in this industry, because the guys in the school are able to bridge the gaps that we currently all see. And yeah, I'm only excited, to be honest.
Very good. Oh, okay, Magnus.
I actually think, Monique, that you probably have three of the most important guys in Europe when it comes to what you're asking about. In the Netherlands, they have the NMO project covering everything, more or less, all kind of media usage. MediaMetri, they've been cutting edge in different sectors, not only video. Kantar is doing a lot of different cross-media things that Bas mentioned. We have a more limited part of trying to focus on grasping video on all platforms. But the most interesting thing is not what's being done on an online video TV gig. It's more what's being done cross-media outside. I think we all agree on that. It's not because I'm humble saying that, but it's the most interesting thing and a challenging thing is wider than our scope.
Yeah, but you have to start somewhere, and
Yeah.
you is where you start.
It's
This is
really
where it starts.
interesting, but
This
the
is where
most
it
important,
starts.
interesting thing is actually the
Yeah.
whole picture, I think. So I agree.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for sharing your view of this world, and keep building. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.